Today we are spicing up your traditional lasagna.
Mother-daughter duo Betty Ann Donegan and Stephanie Dietz are back to teach us their lasagna soup recipe. How interesting this sounds.
Well, one of my students brought me some soup she had gotten at a restaurant. She brought me a little cup and I tasted it, and it tasted like lasagna that was left over that was chopped up and they threw stock in it. So I thought I could do a little better than that.
You can make it better, okay.
I could make it better. So I made lasagna and I chopped it up and I add some sauce and some stock, and it was okay, but who's going to make lasagna and then chop it up?
To chop it, right?
If you're in a restaurant and it's left over, that's one thing, but to make it fresh. So now we're just going to saute some sausage, and once this is all nice and golden brown and there's a fond, Steph's going to deglaze it with some wine, and she's going to put some spices in.
So basically your recipe is much, much better.
Well, the overall flavor is much, much deeper. And I didn't like the way the mozzarella tasted with the leftover lasagna. The texture of it wasn't good, so we're not putting any mozzarella in.
So this is really your recipe.
This is really my recipe, yes. This is really my recipe.
Now the most important step here in this recipe, though, is right here in the bottom of this pan. If you can see that, all these brown bits that you get when you saute the sausage, you want that. All the flavor from this soup is going to come from those brown bits. Oh. So the first thing we're going to do is chop up some spices. This is a coffee grinder, but we use it only for spices, so now we call it a spice grinder.
Okay.
So it's got fennel seed, salt, pepper, garlic powder, and some oregano.
Okay.
Okay, so we're just going to whir that in the grinder. That's for you.
Now, just to show you the difference in grinding the spices up, and the pepper and the salt and the garlic doesn't make any difference, but for the fennel, it makes a big difference. So if you smell this, these are just very fresh fennel seeds. If you smell that,
got it.
and then if you smell, this is ground up a little bit. You see the difference?
Oh yeah, it's much stronger
so
when you chop it, right?
When you grind fennel seeds and you grind them freshly, you get a real punch in the pan.
Okay.
Now, if you bought fennel seeds that were already ground, it would be nothing like this at all, because they lose their flavor very quickly when you grind them.
Okay. So now we're going to put the wine in.
So what are you calling this? Deglazing.
It's called deglazing.
Okay.
And all that fond, that's stuff on the bottom of the pan, is going to go into the soup now.
Okay.
So this type of wine, it doesn't really matter.
This is a Pinot Grigio, but you could use anything you want to use, a Chardonnay or a Chablis, whatever.
So you can see all these brown bits are starting to come off the bottom of the pan.
So you want to scrape it.
Yep.
Right.
And using a wooden spoon, and we teach the kids this, because when you have a metal spoon and a metal pan, number one, the metal spoon gets hot, and number two, it isn't a good idea to rub the metal against the metal pan.
Scratch the pan, right?
Okay, so now the tomatoes are going to go in. And these are just crushed tomatoes.
Now, I started making this with sauce, but even making the sauce and then making the soup,
process, right?
It takes longer. So I wanted to get something that was a quick one-pan, easy dish. And the tomatoes have to cook for about 20 minutes or so.
Okay.
And once the tomatoes are cooked, voila, and there it is. Now, all we have to do now is add the stock and add the cheese.
Okay.
And then we're going to put in the lasagna noodles and then throw in some basil.
All right,
and these noodles, this was half a pound, so I want you to just chop those up. Now, you can snap them, but it's easier to do it like this, just like that.
Oh, I can handle that.
You can handle that.
Now, why don't you snap them?
Because they get very sharp and you can cut yourself.
Okay.
And they have to be little because this is soup and you're going to eat it with a spoon.
It's way more fun to use them out.
I'm enjoying this, actually. About how much lasagna noodles are here?
It's 8 ounces.
Okay.
And this will grow a lot because these noodles, this is a half a pound starting out. This weighs about 1 pound 5 ounces now.
Okay.
So there's a lot of lasagna noodles really swell a lot. That's why this is the bulk of the soup.
Stephanie, how much soup did you put in there, the stock?
It was a quart of stock, and now I'm going to put in a cup of rhubarb.
Are we using chicken stock, or what kind of stock are we using?
Okay.
And this is rhubarb. Okay. The whole thing?
You could use beef stock
just
if you wanted.
A cup. Okay.
And you don't want to use too much. We tried. You figure, rhubarb, more would be better. It actually isn't.
So the rest was better. Okay.
Yeah, just a cup.
Because you're tempted to put in the whole container if you make one batch. Yeah, I know, and we did.
But it doesn't turn out right.
No, it wasn't as good.
So we're just going to stir this up. You want to get the noodles in there?
Yep, and then we're going to put in the basil. And all this has to do now is get hot, and that's it. So we'll throw in some basil.
And you're done?
We're done.
That is so
well,
easy.
no, it's not hot yet.
Well, I get it, but I mean, once you heat it up.
Once you heat it up, it's it. Yeah.
You serve it with?
Nothing.
Or crusty bread.
Crusty bread.
And a salad.
Yeah.
I love the bread.
Because you have protein in here, in the sausage, and in the ragout. You have lots of fiber in the tomatoes and the basil, and you have starch in the pasta. So it's really a one-dish meal. And that was what I wanted to do, make a one-dish meal that was...
And this was a hit with the kids?
This was their number one...
Unbelievable.
Yeah,
we were so surprised.
And we had kids that didn't eat sausage that liked this.
Really?
Now, you could use, if you wanted to use the chicken sausage, you could.
Okay.
Or turkey sausage?
Or turkey sausage.
Okay, good.
But you would have to put a little oil in the pan. We didn't put any oil in the pan at all. We used a very lean sausage because this is not at all a fatty dish. But we didn't use any oil. But with chicken and turkey sausage,
You're going to need to have
you would have to. Yeah.
Okay.
Because you want to get that fond.
And of course, we'll have the recipe on our
Yes,
website.
yes.
We're going to try this at the end of the show. You guys
Yep.
can stick around
Yep,
because
okay.
it's starting to smell delicious.
Oh, yes.
All right, thanks, ladies. And coming up next, we're heading to Stage 8, where vocalist Suzanne Vick is getting ready to play some of her latest songs. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
We actually have 2